anyway.
Right.
And
Yeah.
only the right. Only the right gets killed for this anyway. You're seeing the one that got through. The reason I stopped doing this for years is because every single time out was a violent attack. Sometimes it was a rock. Sometimes it was a milkshake, could be concrete, acid, chocolate, vanilla, I don't know. Doxing, fire bombings, Molotov cocktails. Maya Angelou spoke at SMU only a few years before my first time here, didn't need this kind of security. And you can see it if you observe your speakers here. And I'll tell you why that is. If you look at the polls post-assassination of Charlie Kirk, and you label yourself as a moderate, those who identify as liberal support political violence at a ratio of 6-1 to conservative. We see the same stats after the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. We see the same stats after the fire bombings of the Tesla dealership. And we see the same stats on the opposite side, those on the right roundly condemning political violence. The lowest you'll find is 72. You usually find it in the high 80s. You will not find a number that breaks half on the left.
Okay. You mentioned Donald Trump. Can we jump to that for just a minute?
Donald Trump, sure. I assumed we would.
Things like this.
Because we get killed for it anyway.
So I hope that I eventually see a part 2, because this is, I like this kind of stuff. You know, he's absolutely right. If you just look at leftist speakers, you know, they usually don't engage with the audience very much. And they don't really have security because they don't need it, because they know they're not endangered. But all Republicans, all people on the right, they understand and know because of their experience that they do have to have security.
Right.
You think Kamala would have done a good job? Why? Because she wouldn't deport people? And that's the only thing you stand on? In the entire country, and the way this country's going, deportations are the only thing you should judge a president on? You're crazy. You're so small-minded. We have foreign policy.
The Mexican Americans, they might make it a priority.
Yes.
Right?
But if that's the hill you're going to die on, you should step the fuck away from politics.
Because?
We have foreign policy. We have trades. We have people charging us tariffs that we're not paying tariffs. You know what the tariff was from China, Japan, here to us so they can import their goods to us? 15%. Did you know if you try to import an American car to China, it's 110, 150%? Before the tariff war, they were taking advantage of us. And dog, I can go all day. People grab a president and hang them on one theme. Dog, there's the economy, there's a stock market, there's foreign policy, there's wars, there's so many things. Homeland security, there's so many things that you have to judge a president on. So if you think, like when people in the comments, that's what you voted for. Okay, motherfucker, you think Kamala would have been a better choice? You think Kamala would have done a good job?
So I love this guy. But yeah, I definitely agree. And you know what? If Trump, let's just say Trump was talking about everything, but he was against deportations and against the border being closed. If he was like, nah, open border, bring in more immigrants, I probably still would have voted for him just because of his policy on everything. I used to hate Trump. I used to hate Trump before he became president the first time. I never liked him. He was this rich asshole that seemingly had everything handed to him in life. Everybody loved him for no particular reason, when all he did was walk around, hey, you know, like the frickin' Fonz and didn't seem to have much character to him. So I never really liked him, but when he became president the first time, I saw him actually being a president and having diplomacy. He was actually talking to other countries. He was actually doing all the stuff you're supposed to do as a president. And, you know, that's when I got on board, and I was like, okay, he's actually a good dude, you know. And also, this last time being attempted assassinations, 2 of them, yeah, I really think that made him hold on to the whole Christian faith a little bit more, and realize that he needs to do good, because you can be gone any second. This guy is Positivity Sells. So that's where you can find him.
On September 23rd, Donald Trump gave an address to the United Nations. It was a rare address, believe me. No one has ever been that blunt, that explicit, and that critical of the UN. It was scheduled to be 15 minutes, but on the other hand, if the UN membership was shocked at the candor of Donald Trump had ample reasons to be candid, because before he even gave the speech, he and First Lady Melania Trump and their entourage were, just the minute they got on the escalator, it mysteriously shut down. And by the way, the London Times had run a story saying that some members wanted to shut it down in protest of Trump's cutting back on UN support. That was an odd thing to happen. Number two was the teleprompter suddenly went out. The escalator by this time was mysteriously back in service, and the teleprompter would be too. And then three, unbeknownst to Donald Trump, people, reporters, and even First Lady Melania Trump said you couldn't hear Trump. All of a sudden, mysteriously, his sound was, what do you want to call it, de-amplified? And then fourth, for a minute, the translation did not come into English to the membership, but to Portuguese. All four of those circumstances were almost impossible to occur in one session. So what am I getting at? This is very serious. It means that the United Nations has employees, or perhaps administrators, who deliberately tried to sabotage an American president while on American soil. So Donald Trump, as he was experiencing the breakdown in the teleprompter and had just gone through the escalator shock, decided to lengthen his speech from 15 minutes to about 55, and he had some blockbuster things to say. First of all, the UN did not like it. They sat in stony silence. Why? First of all, he said the UN had been of no real importance when he was trying to negotiate peace, or at least a ceasefire, with the Congo and Rwanda, with Serbia and Bosnia, with Russia, of course, and Ukraine, Pakistan, and India. I could go on, but he had 7 separate conflicts that he at least got a temporary ceasefire. There was no UN praise, there was no UN input. The subtext, what he was saying, is that most of their declarations of condemnation are against tiny Israel. In fact, Benjamin Netanyahu would follow his appearance at the UN, and at least a lot of the contingents just simply walked out. Now, they didn't do that for the Palestinians, of course. And notice another thing. Israel is a democratic country, and they walk out when the prime minister speaks. But they don't walk out when Xi speaks. He's got over 1 million people in a Uyghur labor camp. They don't walk out when Mr. Erdogan speaks. He's occupied, Turkey has occupied for a half century illegally northern Cyprus. And they don't, of course, walk out when a Russian diplomat speaks when they've killed over 150,000 Ukrainians in this war. It's only selective because Israel is tiny, it's Western, and let's speak frank, it's Jewish. But Donald Trump, so he knows all that in advance, and he has no respect for the UN. The other subtext that got the UN people very angry was that he talked about Europe, not Africa, not Asia, not Latin America, and they felt excluded. But it was very passive aggressive. He said to Europe, I love Europe. I want you to fulfill essentially your shared Western heritage with us, but you're not doing it. And you're not doing it for 3 or 4 things. Number one, you've embarked on a suicidal energy policy that subsidizes inefficient and unsustainable green energy, solar and wind specifically. And you've given up oil and gas, natural gas, and clean coal and nuclear, and you've lost your competitive edge, and your consumers are hurting. Number two, you let in millions of illegal immigrants, and not just any illegal immigrants, mostly from the war-torn Middle East who were Islamic and had no desire to adapt to, integrate with, or assimilate with Western civilization's customs, cultural norms. And therefore, you've got a terrible problem with immigration, you've got inefficient energy, and you're disarmed. And I'm lecturing you, Trump said, because I love Europe and I want you to be a full partner. And that offended the rest of the world that didn't get that privilege of having a U.S. president talk directly to them, but it also got the Europeans angry because he was telling them the truth. On September 23rd,
Wow. Yeah, he said a bunch. And yeah, he's absolutely right about all that. What I really think is kind of funny is there's so many people that sabotage Trump. So many people that are so simple that they think Trump is like them. But no, everything Trump does, there's a purpose and a reason behind it. And on top of that, I hate all the freaking hypocrites that hate Trump, but they love getting everything from China and dealing with China. And we should give China a good deal and all this other stuff. How are you okay with even dealing with China? China is like 100 or 1,000 times worse than anything you believe Trump is doing. Let's just say Trump was everything you say he is. China is still 1,000 times worse than that. But yet, because they give you cool gadgets and cheaper stuff, you're okay with it. You're okay with slave labor. You're okay with them chopping up their prisoners and selling their body parts. Y'all are okay with, wherever it is that you don't see because you don't want to pay attention to it. It's just crazy.
I have never heard of one law enforcement agency not helping another when they call for help until this weekend. When a chief of patrol, where the Chicago Police Department instructed the police officers not to run in and help their colleagues who were calling for help, who were under attack by a bunch of people clearly violating the law. That's scary. Let me give you the antithesis of that. We had a single man resist ICE agents and get away from them in our community. We sent a helicopter, a drone, K9, and 50 law enforcement officers to surround an area, and we found that guy who violently resisted ICE, and we locked him up in jail where he should have been. If you allow anarchists and criminals to run wild in your community, people will die. People will be shot. Now, let me say this. For other law enforcement leaders across this state and nation, you need to be standing up saying the same exact thing that I am. Because when you have a breakdown of the rule of law, when you allow anarchists, criminals to take over the streets and attack law enforcement officers and then not send them help, that's a slippery slope, a real slippery slope. I have never heard.
Yeah, he is absolutely right. Yeah, that's just insane and they're trying, it's insane that the police did not go to help them when they were literally under attack. They were being ambushed and the police were called off by like the chief of police or whatever. You could hear on the dispatch, you hear all this stuff, and then now Democrats are saying, "Oh no, that never happened. They were there the whole time." It's like, no, you weren't there the whole time. It's like you can't lie about it and say that you were when you weren't, and we have evidence saying that you're not. I mean, that's one of the things Democrats want is us to forget about evidence, forget about statistics, forget about everything, and just do what they tell us to do. Just be good little kids and do what we tell you because we're superior, because we're crazy. And yeah, I can't go along with that. I'm glad the world, or at least I'm glad the country can't go along with that anymore. We tried it. We were like, okay, Democrats, y'all are in full control. Y'all want to try to change the world, make it better. Y'all don't like how we were doing things. Okay, here, y'all had the government for like 20, 30 years. I mean, yeah, we had a couple of Republicans in there, but it didn't change. It was all still Democrat last 30, 40 years. At least how the country was being ran. And y'all showed us how bad it can get. Y'all showed us the terror that awaits us if we allow y'all to be in power. Let me know what y'all thought in the comments. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Definitely helps the channel. And I love doing this. So I'll see y'all next time.